All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Rising 11th grade uh, parent webinar tonight. We are the class of 2028. I'm going to give just a quick minute here for everybody to get signed in, and then we will get going because I want to make sure that we respect your time tonight. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. My name is John Sawyer. I am one of the counselors here at Cal High. I am joined tonight by Mrs. Christine Avila, who will also be presenting tonight. And we have Mrs. Falcone, who will be monitoring the Q&A tonight. So we do have the Q&A, and we'll just do a couple quick housekeeping um, mentions here at the top here. The chat feature is off, the Q&A is on. Thanks for holding general questions until the end, because there's a really good chance that your questions will be answered by the presentation. And if you're logging in on a mobile device, the Q&A might not be available. So in this session, here's what we're going to be covering for the 10th graders rising to 11th grade. What classes does your student need to take for next year? Are they on track to graduate? What does your student need to take to be competitive for college apps? And where do they even start? And how do they make sure that their schedule is not too overwhelming? And how do I request the courses? How do they request the courses that they want? We are in the midst of scheduling season. We have been into your students' classrooms to hand out the course selection sheets, and we have showed them how to enter their course selections into the SchoolLinks platform, which is a change from last year when we did it in the Infinite Campus platform. First of all, let's introduce the whole team. We're not all on this presentation tonight, but we have, as I said, Ms. Avila, who is going to be presenting with me. I'm Mr. Sawyer. And then just look at the corresponding alphabet spread to find out who your child's counselor is. Ms. Hill comes after me alphabetically. We have Ms. Youngberg, Ms. Bellini, Ms. Falcone, and rounding out the tail end of the alphabet is Ms. Beavers. And we also have additional support on campus. Our support counselor, Ms. Lapata, is here when your students are experiencing some social emotional distress and need to talk to somebody immediately. We have our wellness center run by Ms. Hobbs. That is a space available if a student needs a reset break in the middle of the day. And we also have our amazing college and career coordinator, Ms. Nichols, who can who is a great resource for students on all things related to testing, college, and career. So let's talk about next year. Your students have the course selection sheet, so please take a look at those. They're also available on the Cal High Counseling website. If you Google Cal High Counseling, it'll be the first item returned, so that's the easiest way to find that website. There's information and process about the process and the course options, the classes that are going to be available to your student next year. There is some additional information and resources on our website. There's, like I said, the copy of those course sheets that are available by grade level. And on those sheets, you can also see what every single class, which A through G area that subject or that class meets in the A through G subject area. And we also will have a link to the high school, the district high school course catalog with descriptions available on that Cal High website, counseling website as well. Links to the AP and honors resources and the high school graduation versus the college entrance requirements, which we are going to go through tonight as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Avila to talk about that very thing.
All right. So again, thank you all for joining us. So we just want to make sure that we can be as clear as possible. We shared this information with your students last week, but just to be transparent about what high school graduation requirements are and what the colleges are looking for if they choose to go to college after high school. And so there are subject area requirements, and that's where you see the A through G. Each subject area is labeled with a letter. And so A stands for social studies. For high school graduation requirements, they needed world geography, world history. They'll be going into US history next year, and then government and econ for their senior year. The CSUs and the UCs both require the same things. They require the world history and the US history. So with those two college systems, they're looking for the same thing, but there is a little bit of a difference between the graduation requirements. For English, that's category B. That's the same across the board, 4 years of high school level English. And then in math, we're looking for 2 years with Algebra 1 included for high school graduation requirements. So 1 year of algebra and then another year of general math. And the CSUs and UCs are typically looking for Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and a 4th year recommended. Okay. So going to the next slide, we then have our science requirements, or category D. For high school graduation, we're looking for 2 years, 1 year of physical science, so that's either like chemistry or physics, and then a year of life science. So typically that's biology for our students. The CSUs are looking for the same thing, but the UCs are looking for an extra year of a 3rd year of a lab science. So sometimes students would do that as a biology, chemistry, and physics, or they might do marine bio. So any other A through G approved science class can meet that 3rd year requirement. And then for graduation requirements, so this category of E through F, so world language and performing art. For graduation requirements, we just need 2 of these 3 categories, including that vocational art. And you can see that that actually doesn't necessarily hit a subject requirement area. And so that's a little different than some of what the colleges are looking for. So for CSUs, they are looking for 2 years of the same language. So they're looking for that level. So if they have already completed the level 2 of Spanish, French, Mandarin, then they've met the requirement for the CSUs. The UCs do have that same requirement, but they also have a recommendation for a 3rd year. It makes them more competitive towards other applicants, but it isn't a requirement. And then they are looking for that 1 year of a fine art, so visual or performing art. Okay. And then other high school graduation requirements, we do require health and PE as California graduation requirements. Those aren't required by the CSUs or the UCs. And then just general elective credits, the UCs, CSUs just need 1 more year. Well, anything that goes above and beyond the basic high school graduation requirements does count towards their elective credits. So a 3rd year of science, another year of math, those all count towards their elective units. So for graduation, they need 220 credits total, and they need to pass with a D- or higher to earn the credits they need for graduation. And then the UCs and CSUs are looking for 15 courses, which count for everything that I've already covered, with a grade of a C- or higher. And so we also want to take a look at their transcript. This is available in Infinite Campus through the Documents tab on the left-hand column, and then you'll just hit Portal Transcript, which I believe is one of the last things. It's after all of their grade reports. But you'll be able to see a quick summary of all of the classes that they've taken semester by semester. So you'll be able to see where they're at all the way through first semester of 10th grade, which is where they are currently. So they're currently in their 2nd semester, and you'll be able to see all of the grades prior. And then we do have a credit summary box to the right-hand side, where you can see it does the math automatically for everyone. But like for English, if they've already attempted 15 credits, it's 5 credits per semester for each class. How many they've earned, so as long as they've passed everything, they should earn those credits. How many is required in each category, so that's their basic graduation requirements, and then how many is remaining. So like I said, it does do the math for them. It does a cumulative GPA. It shows an unweighted and weighted GPA there. It shows their Cal Grant GPA. The state uses this for financial aid. And then a weighted 10th through 12th A through G GPA. And only college preparatory classes are calculated into that. So just, a quick overview. Your students also got this kind of rundown, so feel free to have the conversations with them, take a look together, make sure everything's accurate.
All right, thank you, Ms. Avila. And just, I forgot to mention at the top of the presentation here tonight, we are recording this, and this recording will be posted on the Cal High website. So if you miss a bit of information, you will have the opportunity to go back and re-listen to it. So let's talk remediation. If a student needs to remediate a course, we want to make sure they have the opportunity to do that. What it means is repeating a course the next year, summer school as available, or taking it outside the district. Students who get Fs in required courses will need to remediate for graduation. And if student is aiming for four-year university right after high school, if they earn Ds, they will need to remediate those Ds for college admission consideration. Have your students talk with their counselor to get more information on this. And we will, as counselors, review all of the transcript and all the courses that your student has taken during our one-on-one meetings in the coming month. So choosing classes for rising 11th graders, let's get the required courses done right away. So we'll talk about English. It's required every year, as Ms. Avila mentioned, and there are some different offerings for the 11th graders, and you can reference the back of the course selection sheet, which lists every single class that's available to your student for next year. And for the history requirement, the 11th students must take either U.S. history or AP U.S. history. Those are the two options that we have for them under that category. Math, we recommend that the student take the next course in their sequence if required and desired. If they've taken 2 years of math and one of them has been Algebra 1, they will have met the high school graduation requirement. And please don't panic if your student took Algebra 1 before they got to high school. When they took it in middle school, that will still count towards the college application. And we will count that. We're not going to make them take Algebra 1 again while they're in high school. So again, we just want your student to take the next step on the pathway for math that they are on. And just keep in mind that taking math each year of high school is recommended for college admission. Not required, but recommended. And the sequence is listed in the course catalog, but the current math teacher is also a great resource. They all know the sequences for every single math pathway that we offer here at Cal High. And for science, remember 20 credits is required for graduation, 1 year of life science, 1 year of physical science. And if you are looking to go, again, into a four-year university direct from Cal High, a third year is recommended for college admissions. And kind of that golden trifecta for the UCs and Cal States would be biology, chemistry, and physics. But we do have other offerings that are listed on the course selection sheet for the third year if you want to choose something different. For PE, remember 20 credits are required to graduate. That is 2 years of PE. Your students should have completed 10 credits of PE last year when they were ninth graders in PE 9, and the additional 10 credits must be completed at some point between sophomore and senior year. They can do that by taking a Cal High PE class, and those options are on that course selection sheet. They can do starting this year, in 10th grade and all the way through 12th grade, they can do the athletic PE, and that's participation in a Cal High sport for the full season. And I just want to make sure that I say this. It is, they do have to ask for it. There's an athletic PE form that we have in the counseling office that needs to be signed by you, your student, and their coach after the season ends, and then turn it back into us at the counseling office, and we will get those credits onto their transcript at the end of the semester. Another way to earn that extra year of PE is by participating in marching band, and that would be 2 seasons. That's a fall extracurricular activity. And there is also the independent study PE if your student participates in a solo sport outside of school. And there's a link for all of the application materials. The application window for independent study PE is usually the month of March. And if you have more questions about that, you can just go to the district's website. In the search bar, just type physical education and it will take you right there. For graduation, you, again, as Ms. Avila said, you can do 1 year in any of these 2 out of 3 areas. So the world language, the fine arts, and the vocational art. For the A through Gs, remember, we need 2 years of that same language through level 2. Year 3 is recommended. And we do advise our students not to take a break in year. So like, I wouldn't advise your student to take, let's say, Spanish 1 in ninth grade, take no language in 10th grade, and then rejoin Spanish 2 in 11th grade. That's not going to be in their best interest, and it may cause undue stress on them. I would recommend they just take them in sequence, however far they want to go, year after year with no break. And we do have Mandarin, French, and Spanish available on campus. And then for the fine arts, those A through G requirements require 1 year of visual or performing arts. Those are things like the performing would be our drama department, band, choir, dance. Any of those would be counting towards that fine art credit. And also our visual arts, which would be things like our photography, digital photography, graphic design, computer graphic arts, things of that nature. And also our art classes and ceramics. For vocational, it's not an A through G requirement, but we do have lots of great choices here on campus, and many of them will fulfill the G requirement for the college prep elective. So it offers a great chance for some career exposure. Like we have a careers in teaching, that's an internship-based class. We have our culinary department, which is very hands-on. We have things like the yearbook department, and the newspaper things. So there's a lot of choices. And again, those are all going to be listed on that course selection sheet. So this is a question we get a lot. How do electives work? I feel like I'm behind. Please don't worry. They are a little tricky to understand, but we like we like our students to think about their electives more as credits than their actual classes. So anytime a student is taking a course beyond the high school requirement, we are going to count that as your elective credit. We've got a great example there. Let's say a student completed biology and chemistry in their freshman and sophomore year and plans to take more science courses. Since they have met the science requirement with biology and chemistry, anything that they take beyond that in the science area, we are going to count towards their high school graduation as elective credit. As long as your student is passing their classes during grades 9 through 11, the electives will take care of themselves. All right, and then we have just some nuts and bolts. We want to make sure that your student has alternates for their requests, and remember that they are a wish list. We do our best to get everybody into the classes they want, but with a campus of 3,000 students, we do need to go to alternates sometimes, and they help us create the best schedule for you and your students. Students are allowed to request one core science concurrently with the science elective, and those science electives are marked with an asterisk on that course selection sheet. Things like the biomedical program and the computer sciences would be considered an elective science, while most everything else would be considered a core science. And keep in mind that some classes require interviews, auditions, applications, and so please make sure you know when those are. So keep your eye and ear out. You can come talk to us, have your student come talk to us if they're not sure when, and we can put them in touch with the right people. And we are going to be having less opportunity for adjustments in that first 3 weeks of the school year than we have in the past, just due to budget constraints that we're facing right now. So I would suggest, please, please, please make the wise and the desired course selections with your student and have them input that. And we will go over them one-on-one when we meet with them one-on-one. And I believe there will be a chance for them to change any selections one more time after that. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Miss Avila.
Okay. So there we have some resources that are available for you and your students to take a look at. As we've mentioned, the course selection sheet is one linked in here, also available on our website and also passed out to your rising juniors. So they have that available to them as a resource. It has all of the dates, all of the courses available to them, and some other key important information. So a really helpful tool. We also have a how-to video for the course planner to really a step-by-step guide for how to input their course requests in SchoolLinks. It's a new platform for all of us, and we have been making tweaks as we go, but a really, really helpful how-to guide that really just kind of steps it like words breaks it down for everyone on how to make their selections in there. So we showed this in their classes last week, and if you'd like to take a look at it together, get a review, it's available for you as well. And then, as always, our district course catalog has all of our courses available, descriptions of those courses, so you're not sure which course might be a better fit. Reading the descriptions will allow you to get a better idea of the courses, but I believe we'll be mentioning this later. We do also have our course offerings fair this Friday, so your students will have an opportunity to check out the course booth with usually the current teacher and some current students who can really talk up the courses that they're representing at that course offerings fair. Okay, other things to consider, there are classes that double as ways to get involved. So like Mr. Sawyer mentioned, we have courses like Careers in Teaching that allow students to then work with students at, I believe, our elementary schools, get hands-on learning, and see if this might be a career path they want to go down. We also have our iQuest class that's not available until senior year, but another opportunity to get hands-on learning. We also have our biomedical pathway courses, culinary, and so there's just a lot of opportunities for students to get not just their academics and credits in under their belt, but also career-wise see what might be a really, really great opportunity for them to explore. And so another thing to consider is balance. So school is just one part of your students' lives. At school they're students, but at home they're children. And so thinking about everything else that they have going on, being able to have time to socialize with their friends, any extracurriculars that they're taking part in. So whether that's a Cal High team sport, or if they're doing something outside like ballet, or if they just really have a love of reading and they spend all of their time in their little book nook, reading, their afternoons away. We love that. And so just making sure that there's balance and time for students to enjoy life outside of just their school and academics. So we have things like the AP and honors contract. So if they are choosing an AP or honors course, we will have that as a requirement, as well as a time management sheet to really just break down and have everything visible in front of them of what are all of their commitments outside of just their academics, and do they have time to then spend more time on their academics, because these honors and AP courses do take more time than the standard college prep courses that they might be used to. Okay, the 7th class option for rising 11th graders. So taking a 7th class or a B period is optional, and also not a guarantee at this point, especially with our budget cuts. We have had even more limited options for what we have available, and there's no way for us to say until the master schedule is set, which isn't until the summer, which courses are available. So the students aren't selecting the class that is going to be their B period class. They're just letting them know which 7 classes they'd like to take, and one of those might fall in B period. So that might be an English class or a history class rather than, their elective. So just keeping those things in mind as well. And so students who take a 7th course are typically part of a 3 to 4 year program, or other students might be like behind in credits and need that 7th course in order to make up the credits that they need. So just keep that in mind. A good majority of our students are able to meet all of their graduation and college eligibility requirements without ever taking a B period. Okay, again, another optional piece is non-district courses. So students are not in any way, shape, or form required to take classes outside, but it is an option available to them if they want to branch out. And typically, this is for students who, they are looking for a class that we don't offer. That is what we are typically looking for non-district courses if they choose to take them. Um, but the feedback generally that we've received from colleges as is that they prefer students to take courses at the high school whenever possible. So if it is something that's available at Cal High, they prefer them to take the class with us. And so please keep that in mind. We have more information for non-district courses, all of our policies and procedures regarding those available on our district website. Okay, so more guidelines for that. It makes sense when it's something that we don't offer or just simply can't fit into their schedule. So some students will take something like American Sign Language outside, not something that we have available, meets the language requirement, and something that they really want to pursue. Fantastic option through our community colleges. These courses can then be placed onto their Cal High transcript, but only when the classes are actually needed for graduation requirement. So if it's not required for graduation, if they're taking it purely for enrichment or because they have a genuine interest in the course, but they didn't need it for graduation, you don't need to add it to our transcript. That can then just be reported to the colleges directly during once they're doing their college applications. And then colleges will be evaluating their entire academic record. So everything that they've taken outside, you'll need to provide those transcripts to the colleges at the time of either application or once they choose to attend there. And they recalculate the GPAs based off of that, not just because it's on our transcript. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about private and out-of-state universities. They may have different requirements for the UC and the Cal State. If you have an interest outside of our California public universities, please make sure you check with the individual university for their entrance requirements because they do vary. Some of them might require 4 years of math. Some of them might require an extra year of a world language, and we want to make sure that your student is not coming up short on any of the entrance requirements. But the UC Cal State guidelines are a great jumping off point. So, oh yeah, as I said, that they may require the third lab science instead of two. They may require that additional math. And then this is a good one. Some institutions still require the SAT or ACT. Our California UCs and CSUs do not require the SAT, ACT, but many outside institutions, private and out of state, do require it. So please keep that in mind as well. And so what can you be doing now to prepare for college? Just think about ways you can get involved with the various groups on campus. Do you want to play a sport for the school? Do you want to participate in one of the extracurricular activities, like one of the performing arts groups, or get involved with the clubs? We have several, actually over 100 clubs on campus, and many of them will do various competitions. I know our robotics team has gone to various competitions and done well. And other interest areas. Clubs are a great way to find people who are like-minded and interested in the same thing. It could be something as we've had for a couple of years now, the Taylor Swift fan club, the Cal High chapter, and we've had things as serious as people starting nonprofits and trying to raise awareness and raise funds for various charities. So it runs the gamut from just strictly fun to really trying to make a difference in the world. And then look for summer opportunities outside of the classroom, be that a specific learning focused opportunity that could be offered by a university or another learning institution or a summer job. Any of those things can help your student become well-rounded because the universities are looking for not just professional students, but they're looking for whole people. And remember to develop time management skills. If you can, please create a daily planner and schedule. Schedule the time that your student is going to be working on their homework, whether they're going to be practicing an instrument, whether they are going to be working at a job that they have, and then that will help establish the routines, and you can prioritize the tasks, and your student will be able to do that as well and help block out distractions during that specific time. And also, I can't stress how important this is. Please make sure there is time to rest and recharge and relax, because burnout is real and we don't want to see that happen to your student. We want them to be the best that they can be, and that requires them getting the correct amount of rest. And then build relationships with the people on campus. Us as counselors, the administration staff, their teachers, their peers. We have college and career fairs and visits often. Ms. Nichols has scheduled, I think she scheduled over 100 different college visits so far this year. So they're happening all the time, and the schedule's available in School Links, and that's where your student can sign up. And it's a great way to get to know your local rep for a university and to ask questions. And who knows, that person, that rep from that college might be the person reading your student's application when the time comes. And consider the PSAT. If it's appropriate for your 10th or 11th grader, that's great practice for the SAT. And if a student does well, there could be some scholarships available for that, if they, as I said, if they do well on that. And then keep track of your achievements and accomplishments. Your student can start creating a resume in School Links or use a Google Sheet for that. But keep track of those things, because those are the kind of things that they're going to want to put on those college applications when the time comes in the fall of their senior year. And then take time to do some of the self-discovery inventories that are available on School Links. School Links has so many different career pathways that you can explore, and different self-inventories, and they'll recommend different areas of study and career pathways based on your students' answers. And the great thing is everything is written in pencil. You can go back and retake those personality assessments. If you think something in your life has changed and you want to take it again and see if the recommendations are different. I know that we've had some students already get some different responses than the initial time that they do it. And then for choosing your classes, please, please, please remember balance. Ms. Avila talked about this earlier, but remember everything that you have going on in your life, whether that is you're playing a sport for a club organization outside of school, or you have a job, or you are required to shuttle your siblings around because of the family schedules, and so that's your responsibility as the older sibling. Please keep those things in mind when you're choosing your courses. We want to make sure that you have time for the workload that is going to come with these courses. And be thoughtful, especially with the limited seats that we're having available. You can't assume anymore that you can just drop a class and pick up another one. There may not be the flexibility in your schedule, and we can't guarantee that there's going to be a seat somewhere else. And then know the recommendations and the requirements for the desired courses before requesting them. We don't want you to create stress for yourself based on your course choices. If you don't meet the recommendations, then we're gonna, have a discussion with you one-on-one, because we want to make sure that you are prepared for whatever course that you are requesting. And then please make your alternate choices carefully, because of, as I said, we've said several times tonight, the limitations in the master schedule. They may affect your primary choices. We always do everything we can to get people in as many of their first choices as possible, but we need those alternates so we don't end up placing your student just where we have space. And we linked in here to the high school A through G plan, and you can certainly fill that out, and we recommend that you fill that out so you know where you're going and what you're shooting for after school ends. And then have your students be prepared with questions when we meet with them one-on-one in March. This is a great time to clarify, and we will be able to make any changes as needed. And so where and when do the students request courses? The course planner in School Links is open now. We have walked your students through using the course planner in School Links. It will be open until February 27th. And so we need those course plans submitted by February 27th. And so I would encourage your students, make sure you come to the course offerings fair on Friday so they can really get a chance to check out the electives and what those offer and what they are going to require. And also, please remember your selections are a wish list or a rough draft. So we will do our best to build the master schedule accordingly. And remember that if you are looking to take an AP or honors course, you will be required to fill out the AP and honors contract. And remember, we are meeting with your students the week of March 23rd through 27th, and that will include makeups for if your student is ill or out of school the day that we are scheduled to meet with them. We will aim to get every 10th grader met with during that week. They can make those changes for requests during that one-on-one meeting. And then we will have a Google form available the first week of May, the 4th through the 8th only. After that, everything gets locked in place and we start building the master schedule for next year. And we realize that you guys as parents and guardians may wish to have an individual meeting with your student's counselor, but we at this point of the year need to dedicate our time to make sure we have time to meet with every single one of our students individually and maintain all of our other responsibilities during this time of year, because this definitely is busy season for us. So we appreciate the consideration on that front. In closing, we've thrown a lot at you tonight. Take a deep breath. Perfection is not a college requirement. There is a college out there for everyone. There are over 4,000 colleges and universities in the US. And advancing through classes during the summer is not a requirement, or is it necessary to be admitted into a college. Remember, we are hearing from the universities, they like the students to take the courses on the college, on the high school campus. And the AP and honors classes also are not required to be admitted into college. If your student wants to take a weighted class, an AP and honors class, it should be based on their interest and their passion for the subject, not in the weighting of the grade or how they think it's going to look to the school. Please remember the things like the interest, the amount of time they have, the extracurricular activities, and other responsibilities of the workload. Remember, if your student plays a sport for the school, that's going to take up a significant amount of time. And that on top of a more rigorous AP or honors course, we just don't want burnout to happen, and we don't want the students' grades to suffer. Remember that sleep and rest are just as important as studying. The Olympics are on right now, and I have heard so many different athletes talk about the importance of their rest in order for them to be performing at the levels that they do. And the same is true for our students when it comes to their academics. And please remember, students, you get one high school experience. Please make time for fun. This is a great time in your life. And we would recommend you limit time spent on social media and focus on those in-person interactions with your friends and family. Thank you so much for logging on tonight and taking the time to listen to us. There are links to all of our socials and our counseling website. Remember, your students already have the course offering sheet, and they can use the resources that we have on our Cal High counseling website on the course planning page to help you guys select your classes. And remember, we need those course selection sheets submitted on February 27th. So that's all we have for tonight.
Oh,
thank you all.
Mr. Sawyer.
Oh, yes.
I did have some questions from the Q&A I was hoping we could address live, since I think we still do have a little bit of time left.
Yes, please.
Excellent. Thank you. I was going to ask this, but I feel like I might just kind of answer it because it's almost more confusing that way. I was noticing that for some people, they were getting a little bit confused on when things count as electives versus subject requirement. To clarify for people, just because like you're taking a third year of science in your time at Cal High, it's still going to count as a science for college. Like that's still going to meet a science credit for college, but for high school, it might count as elective. So they can kind of count as different things sometimes, depending on what, like if it's a high school transcript looking at it for a grad requirement versus college admission. So I hope I explained that well. John or Christine, feel free to jump in if there's anything you have to add to clarify that, but people were getting a little stuck on that one.
Gotcha. No, I think that's great because yes, for high school versus for college, you explained it very well. Thank you.
Okay. Could you speak a little bit about College Connect, just because I think the application's still open. So if you just wanted to talk a little bit about it, and then also what students that applied should do when picking their classes because they don't know if they got accepted yet.
Correct. Yes, for College Connect, the application window is actually closed, but if your student did apply,
sorry, everyone.
that's okay. If your student did apply, I am encouraging all the students who put their applications in to put in your request as if you are not going to get into the program. It's easier for us to make the transition in the choices from a non-College Connect student to a College Connect student than it is the other way around. So I'm telling the students, please put your requests in as if you are not going to get into the program.
Thank you. I think I was looking at the deadline for the welding dual credit program, which
that one
is still
open, yes.
open,
Correct.
and would work the same way. Okay, could you talk a little bit about what you see for juniors? Because technically they are able to take 5 classes, but what feedback or guidance do you have around that?
I would
Sorry, can you
say,
repeat that?
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
Yeah, so as juniors, technically they're able to take 5 classes if they're
Mhm.
ahead enough on their credits. Could you just speak to that a little bit on what you think are the things to consider when you're making that choice?
Yeah, so yes, students, as long as they're on track for graduation, have all the credits they need up until this point, can take essentially an off period. So usually an unscheduled fifth or an unscheduled sixth class. And so that would be their class after lunch. They do have to vacate the premises. They're not allowed to stay on campus if they have an unscheduled period. And so this does make some complications for students if they are if they're responsible for driving a younger sibling, or if they're part of a carpool, they're not supposed to be on school campus anymore. And so that can make things tricky. And so it's not necessarily a great fit for all students, but it could be a really good option if that's necessary. So we do have some students who, just have all the credits that they need, are, working a part-time job and like that flexibility in their day. But also with our odd even schedule, it does make things complicated if it is for a job-related purpose.
and to add on that, from an academic perspective, I would just say if there is not a course that your student is interested in, then yeah, there's no problem with them taking the period off in order to pursue other things. If they have, if they've committed to like a sports schedule for a club team outside of school, or as Miss Avila said, they have a part-time job. But if there is something that they're interested in, I would encourage them to take that 6th class. And pursue it and do well in it, especially if it's something that they're passionate about.
Thank you. Could you talk a little bit more if a student was interested in the college visits that Ms. Nichols so diligently sets up for us? How would they go about signing up for that?
So,
Yep. Go ahead, Ms. Avila.
Ms. Nichols has on her webpage, so on the Cal High website under the college and career page, she has, I believe, a full list of all of the colleges coming. And so students can see every school that is already scheduled to be on campus, when and where that's going to take place. And then they'd be able to sign up on School Links, I believe, is where they would sign up for the visit. And then if it's during a class period or during student support, she would add them to the roster for her students, for the student support and responsive scheduler if it's during that time, send passes for them if it's during class time, or if it's during lunch or after school, just make sure that the students are aware of when and where that takes place. And so I believe she usually sends out an email to those students.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I was looking, we are getting a few questions in the chat. I think it's good to just note if it is a very you specific or your student specific question, have your student, you could jot a little note on their course plan, and that way it'll be sure to get addressed with their counselor in their one-on-one meeting. Obviously in a setting this large, it wouldn't make sense for us to spend time diving into very hyper specific questions. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Falcone, are those all of the kind of general questions for now?
I think that covered a lot of it. I'm going back through the Q&A. These resources will be posted. They're also already available on the counseling website, and we are going to be linking the slide deck when we post the video as well. So all this will be coming to you. And really, if you have any questions, your student is looking for a little more information about certain aspects of the process of why didn't this happen, or how do I set myself up well for this, like please have them come see us. We're available for student drop-ins, break, lunch, before and after school. So I know sometimes the whole process of schedules can seem a little mystical and hard to understand, but yeah, when you're getting 3,000 students into 6 classes on average a piece, there can be things that need a little magic to work.
Yes, I liken it to an 18,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. So yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for logging in and taking the time to listen to us and asking great questions. And again, these resources will be available to you. Thank you, Ms. Falcone and Ms. Avila, for presenting tonight. And hopefully we will be talking to you in the future as we need to answer any questions that you guys have. Have a great night.
Thank you.